90% of poles, 90% of wins. A constructors won by a considerable margin. A driver's third championship title, a record-breaking season, and a clean sweep only stopped by one lone Ferrari.
Oh my god, Amelia, that sounds like the 2023 season. No, that sounds like the 2015 season.
You're correct. It's both. It's literally both. Ten years ago, Mercedes won the Constructors' Championship for the second consecutive year, with Lewis Hamilton taking his third championship title. In a 19-race season, Mercedes amassed 18 of the 19 poles and won 16 of those 19 races, finishing the year with a 275-point gap to the others. Fast forward 8 years, and history repeats itself. But with Lewis only having one pole and a winless season, it wasn't Mercedes breaking records. No, this time, it was Red Bull. In 2023, Max Verstappen won his third Drivers' Championship and Red Bull took their second consecutive Constructors. With 14 out of the 22 poles and only losing one race, they led this season by a 451-point gap. And that one race that they lost? Singapore. Do you know what's also one of only 3 races Mercedes lost in 2015? Singapore. And when Hamilton and Verstappen's teammate of 3 years retire from racing the year after, mid-contract, my god, you are not ready for how similar these seasons are. Right, let's get into it. Out of all 20 drivers lined up on the grid, we saw 2 notable rookies introduced for each season. Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz in 2015, and Logan Sargent and Oscar Piastri in 2023. Despite them all having a handful of DNFs, they did all manage to reach the points at least once, with Oscar Piastri managing to podium twice during his debut season. We did actually also momentarily welcome Roberto Merhi and Nick de Vries. However, they were both dropped halfway through their respective seasons, as neither managed a result higher than 12th. Which is a bit harsh, I think. Like, Jesus guys, they've only just started. 2023 may have been 3 races longer than 2015, but both equally saw an introduction of a pre-millennium track. In 2015, F1 returned to Mexico for the first time since 1992. This reconfigured track in the heart of Mexico has been on the calendar ever since 2015 and has hosted a lot of excitement as one of the last races of the season. Most notably, Max Verstappen's 2023 championship win. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? 2 races after that, in 2023, we saw the introduction of the new Las Vegas street circuit. The last time Las Vegas hosted a race was the 1982 Caesars Palace Grand Prix, which, according to the interweb, only hosted around 30,000 people, which is 285,000 people less than the 2023 circuit debut. However, despite the introductions and the, quite frankly, record-breaking seasons on paper, these were rated pretty poorly by fans. The domination of one team and one driver, there was a lack of excitement on both the Constructors and the Drivers' Championships, with the critiques for both seasons being largely the same. It was boring because the predictability and the difference in car quality between the leading team and those behind was so different that people started cheering more for who came third as opposed to who came first. Mercedes won their Constructors 4 races before the end of the season in 2015, with Lewis Hamilton winning his Drivers the race following, almost exactly the same as Red Bull winning their Constructors 5 races before the end of the 2023 season, and Max Verstappen getting his Drivers the race following. Except there was one other winner. One other team managed to claw their way to that first place podium, and that was Ferrari. Remember I said Singapore was the only race Red Bull didn't win in 2023? Well, that was won by Carlos Sainz. And with neither Red Bull on the podium, people started to wonder, is this the turning point for the season? Is this the end of Red Bull's win streak? Evidently no, it wasn't. They then went on to win the Constructors by a gap of 451 points and didn't lose another race the entire season. But For that one race, people had hope for excitement, and you gotta let the critics have their wins when they need them. 8 years before this at Singapore, one Ferrari won this race as well, Sebastian Vettel. He already had the 2 other non-Mercedes wins under his belt for the season, and he decided, I'm going to take another. And also, at the same time, I'm going to take the one non-Mercedes pole position of the entire season as well. They both really said, guys, I got this. Don't even worry about it. I'll get us a win. Establishing stricter safety regulations and equipment was also a theme throughout both these years. In reflection on pretty horrific crashes the year before, these are much more somber similarities than those I've already mentioned, but I think they're important to talk about. After the shock of Jules Bianchi's crash in 2014, the introduction of the virtual safety car and a proposal for cockpit protection was brought up in 2015. This would eventually manifest into what we know as the Halo today, but 2 other proposed designs were the aero screen created by Red Bull and the shield created by the FIA. As far as I'm aware, the reason for picking the Halo was that it wouldn't disrupt driver vision like a screen would, and it also provided roll protection or crash protection like a screen wouldn't. This ended up being directly beneficial in 2022 when Zhou Guanyu crashed at the British Grand Prix. His roll hoop broke upon his initial flip, and the Halo was the only thing protecting his head. And had that not been there, he probably wouldn't have got away from that crash. Maybe at all, to be honest. But that did then cause the 2023 regulations for the roll hoop to be much stricter on weight-bearing requirements and the shape of the actual hoop. Unfortunately, it seems to be a theme throughout F1 history that driver safety is only really thought about when someone almost or tragically does lose their life. I'm fully aware that this is and always has been a dangerous sport, but someone shouldn't have to lose their life for something as obvious as cockpit protection to be thought about. And honestly, looking back at all the criticisms about how the Halo is ugly and it ruins the design of the car, it's pretty laughable. The look of a safety feature is so wildly unimportant in comparison to what the actual safety feature provides. I wasn't alive when things like seatbelts were introduced as a law, but I can imagine the criticisms were about the same, and look at how many people seatbelts have saved. So anyway, now that you're tangled in a web of similarities, let me untangle them for you. In 2014, Sebastian Vettel replaced Fernando Alonso at Ferrari for the 2015 season. Reportedly, this blindsided Alonso and caused him to join McLaren, where he then had the worst season ever. He had a pre-season crash, which meant he couldn't participate in the first race of the season. He DNF'd 8 times, never podiumed, and only reached the points twice, ending the season with 10 points. To put this into context, he ended his 2014 season with 161 points. 151 more. Awful. Awful, terrible year for him. But in 2022, when Sebastian Vettel announced that he was retiring from racing, Fernando Alonso then took his seat at Aston Martin. In 2023, he podiumed 8 times and managed to leave the season with 206 points. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Because if you're not, let me explain. 2023 was just Fernando Alonso reliving the 2015 season in Sebastian Vettel's point of view. He somehow made a deal with the F1 gods and he went, guys, this 2015 season is haunting me. We need to work something out. And they went, I got you, bro. And that's how we have these almost exact, mirror image races, mirror image wins, mirror image, I was going to say teams, but kind of opposite teams. Poetic, would you say? But these 2 seasons are so bizarrely similar that it's the only explanation. Fernando Alonso is on the side of the F1 witchcraft movement. And he got his season that he deserved in 2015. No, but seriously, I was gonna do a 10 years in review kind of thing where I looked at the 2015 season before we started the 2025 season. But after going down this rabbit hole and being like, oh my god, these are literally the exact same season in a different package, I thought it was necessary that you got the same information. So you're welcome. Thank you so much for watching. We're done.